Sales Ascender! What's happening? Sean here, back at you with another high ticket tune-up. And in this video, I'm curious, are you sick and tired of hearing I wanna think it over from your prospects in high ticket sales? Well, this video is gonna give you the answer. Stay tuned. What's happening, Sales Ascender? Sean here, back at you with another high-ticket tune-up. Don't forget to share this video to somebody who needs it, because this one is going to be good. We're coming at you with an awesome question that I came in from Robbie T. This week, Robbie asked this. He says, Sean, I keep getting told I want to think it over by prospects, and then I never hear from them again. How can I stop this? Okay, I'm going to unpack this one, because this one is a mega dose of something that's going to be really valuable for everybody to hear, okay? So the reason somebody says, I want to think it over, is actually the result of the sales professional not doing the best job possible. And so when it comes to this, the one thing that we need to do as sales professionals, and everybody can do this, so it's not like you can't do this, is we need to be able to do two things. And so the first thing we need to be able to do when somebody says, I want to think it over, we know that that's a trigger to say, okay, cool. Well, there's a resolution from that. So I can go into the resolution zone after the what I'm going to share with you today. But the point of this video is to show you how to prevent that from ever happening to you again in any sales conversation that you ever have. So pro tip number one is you need to become comfy in telling your prospect that it's okay to say no. Let me repeat that. You personally, as a sales professional, need to be comfy in telling your prospect that it's okay to say no. What does that sound like, Sean? Well, in our selling system, we have a 7-step selling system that we use. And step number 2 is called the rules of the game. It's basically setting the agenda for the sales call. So when you get started in a sales call, you create a little bonding connection, and then you get into the rules of the game. The rules of the game, very simply, it's an analogy game. First of all, be grateful. So like, hey, I'm grateful for the chance to speak with you today. 2, I want to ask you a few questions about this, this, and this in my agenda. M stands for me. So I'm sure you have questions for me. We can cover any of those things. And then E stands for end. So at the end of the conversation today, one of two things can probably happen. I need to get your agreement on this, Ms. Prospect. Here's what it sounds like. We're going to go through this whole thing. I'm going to understand that you might have a problem that I can solve. And if I can solve that problem, then you and I are going to decide what the next steps are to move forward. On the flip side, if we recognize that I can't solve any of your problems, it's totally cool for you to just say, hey, you can't solve any of my problems and we're good to go in another direction. And then I'll give you a referral. And when you've set up and you're okay with, again, being comfy and telling your prospect that it's okay to say no, and you set that up in the actual sales call itself, guess what's going to happen? Your prospect is going to have no pressure on them. It's not even going to feel like a sales call, and you're probably going to close more deals than you could ever shake a stick at ever anyways. So very, very powerful to remember that, right? So it's pro tip number 2. Once you set that up and you said like, hey, it's okay for them to say no, and I'll get a little bit deeper in a more personal example here in a minute, but I just want to give you the lesson of like how it kind of works. So if you put the rules of the game in your sales call up front early, and you say, here's kind of the possible outcomes, and then you become comfy in telling your prospect that it's okay for them to say no or yes, then you are going to have so much power, like very, very powerful. Pro tip number 2 is this: be comfy in accepting and hearing no. If you can't accept somebody saying no to you, we need to do a little bit more self-work, because here's where you're coming from. If you have a hard time hearing someone tell you no, it's because your mindset is more scarcity than abundance. That's all it is. Because in any business, if it truly solves a problem, there will always be an abundance of opportunity to solve that problem. And so for us to have this false belief of like, oh, I can't accept no, and you know, a lot of people as they're first getting into their selling career have this, and it's okay. It's not your fault. It's because all the records that you had in your head when you were growing up. But remember, when you get to that place and you're like, oh, no, it's okay if you tell me no. I don't care, because there's bajillions of people on the planet. Not bajillions, there's billions of people on the planet. And I know there's lots and lots of people that have the problem that I can solve. And it's okay. If you tell me no, it's not the best fit, and I'm cool with this, and I'm going to go in my other direction. When you're okay in accepting and hearing no, it is one of the most freeing feelings of all times as a sales professional. I promise you this. So anytime you get into a conversation, especially if it's your very first conversation with a new prospect, so valuable to say, listen, again, pro tip number 1, it's okay for you to say no. Pro tip number 2, I'm comfy in hearing no. So please be all right to tell me no. Does that sound like we have an agreement? And when they give you that agreement, like the conversations just light on fire and it becomes something that's so fun, right? And so here's how I do it today. I'll give you an example. Obviously we have a really amazing software called FlowChat. And if you've never heard of FlowChat, then you and I need to kind of get talking about that. But here's the way that I want to think it over from pretty much every single sales call that I've ever done with FlowChat, the software. First of all, I know it solves an amazing problem, right? And I know the exact problem that it solves. And so here's what I say in my sales calls when I'm doing like a group demo to actually sell the software. And you can make up your own questions like this that I'm about to give you in your world, and it might be really relevant and help you a bunch. So when I get up into my sales call, I say, listen, look, I'm going to show you this software today. So again, in the beginning of the sales call, it's the rules of the game. That's the compartment. Step 2 of 7 steps in our selling system is very early in the game. It happens in less than the first 3 minutes of the sales call. And I say something like this, like, hey, I'm going to show you this software today. And here's basically what's going to happen at the end. And number 1, I only ask 2 questions. So my questions are this. Number 1, does this solve the problem that we identified that it solves for you? Right? Because if it doesn't make sense to move forward. Wouldn't you agree? Yes. Number 2, where in your world is this going to be applied and how is it going to work? When you can tell me that, and then I can understand what success looks like, then it would make sense to move forward. Would you agree? Yes. Okay. So by the end of the call today, if we can't get to those 2 questions, and I'm gonna ask you a bunch of questions, see if we can get there, you're gonna be telling me like, this is absolutely solving my problem, and here's where I'll use it, and this is what success looks like. And when you tell me that, then I'm gonna say, let's do it, and we'll go forward. And if not, then it's totally okay, because there's a lot of people that need this, and it might not be you. So does it sound like we have a plan? And then did you see how that sounds when it comes out of my mouth? Even just speaking it here on a video, like I could tell you that every single person I've ever said that to is like, that's awesome. Because now I know the whole, like I know exactly, I have clarity and, transparency on what's going to happen today. I know it's your job to figure out if I have the problem that you solve, and makes sales so much easier. So with that said, you've just been filled in. I love your face, and you've been tuned up today with one of the greatest objection smashers of all times. Get rid of, I want to think it over forever. Don't forget to like this video. Please share it to somebody that could use it, and hit that subscribe button, would you? I'd appreciate it. We got to feed the algorithm gods just a little bit, right? I want to get this knowledge out to more people, because I know there's a lot of people in sales right now that are struggling to close deals. These are the secrets, and you got them at your feet. So with that said, I look forward to seeing you next time.